Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to our YouTube channel and welcome to this video. This is John from CRUD, and in this video, guys, I'm going to teach you how to create CRUD application in JavaFX. So we're going to be creating an application that will enable us to create, read, update, and delete records coming from our MySQL database. So if you're excited, guys, please make sure to watch the full video, and this is going to be a tutorial series. So basically, we will be having like 3 or 4 videos discussing how to create the CRUD application in JavaFX. So here we have the NetBeans IDE version 8.2, and I'm just going to create a new application right here, and I'm just gonna choose the JavaFX FXML application. So as I've said, guys, we're gonna be breaking down this tutorial. So first, we're going to create first the layout of our CRUD application. So basically, what we will be doing here is to create like a library project, and then we will be able to add books, create books, read books, update, and delete books. So first, let's create first the layout. So I'm just going to name my project as, demo CRUD, and then the name of the FXML will be main, and of course the application class will be org.xemacscode, and then demo, and then main Java file, and it should create the project for us. And of course, the first thing that we're going to do here is open up our layout and then add the different elements that we could use for our CRUD application. So first, let me remove first this buttons, or I mean the elements, the button and the label. And I'm going to resize this, the anchor pane, into um, 600 by, or maybe let's make it 800 and then 600. Okay, so there you go, our basic layout. We have set the width and the height, and then of course we're going to add elements right here. So the first thing is we need to add a Vbox because we want to align the elements that we were going to add here. So this is basically for the label. Okay, so we will add here the label for our different attributes or different columns for our table. So basically we will have like 5 columns. So we will have ID, the label. So this will be ID. This will be title, and this will be um, author. And then of course this is going to be the year. Okay, and of course we need to indicate also the number of pages for this particular book. So this will be pages. Okay, and then of course, guys, we could set the layout for our, or I mean the margins and arrangements, the spacing for our Vbox. So we could go to layout, and then we have here the option spacing. We could add spacing like 15. There you go. So it's going to add space between the labels that we have added. Now we could also change the um, size of the text for this label. So we need to add like instead of 12, we will make it like 14. And I think that's it for our label. And I'm just going to resize this. And after this, we're going to add also another VBox that would hold the actual input. Okay, so VBox. Okay, and then we're going to add the text field. Okay, text field, or you could always, have the option to duplicate the text field right here by right clicking the element. Okay, and then of course we need also to add the spacing for our Vbox, and then it's going to be 15, and it should align with the um, label that we have added. So let's try to see if, okay, so we have um, the ID, the label, and of course we're going to um, or maybe we could change the spacing for our second VBox into 10. Okay, so it should align the labels into our um, text fields. Okay, after this, we're going to add also a table view. So table view, the same thing, we're going to have 5 columns. Okay, so this will be the table where we could display the records coming from our database. So the first column will be for our ID. The second column will be for our title, of course. And then, of course, we could duplicate this to add more columns. And then author. And of course, we have the year. And then duplicate to add more column. So pages. Okay. And I think we need to resize our Vbox and then make our table view a little bit wider, just to, accommodate all the information that we are adding into our table view. So we could change the size of the column by just, dragging the column header, and it should position, or we should position the columns according to the usual width of the text that it's going to contain. So the title should be a little bit, wider, just to accommodate the text. Okay, and then of course we could maybe resize this. Okay, and there you go. So after this, we will need to add the buttons for our application. So the application will have 3 buttons. So let's search first the buttons, and then drag and drop it here. And then the first button will be the insert, duplicate, and this should be the update. And of course, this should be another one. There should be another one for our delete. So basically, we could position our buttons, okay, just like that. Delete also, okay. And guys, you could always add, if you want, if you prefer to have icons, you could add icons to your um, buttons, okay. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to leave it as it is, because the focus of this video is for creating CRUD application, where we could create, read, update, and delete records coming from our database. So I think it's about time for us to add IDs or FX IDs for our elements, so that we could reference this from our controller file. So the first one will be the ID text field. So that will be what I'm doing is I'm just using the initials of the element. So for example, text field, so it's going to be TF, and then the actual column that we uh, want to save, so ID, and then I'm going to select the second one, TF, and then title, and then TF, and then author, TF, and then year, and of course another one for our pages. And also for our button, so btn, and then insert, btn update, and of course btn delete. And for the on action, we could use the default handle button action, but you could always input what method that you want. So handle button action, I'm just going to use that because that's the generated method for us whenever we have, or whenever we are creating the FXML application from the option when we're creating the project. And of course, guys, we need also to add the ID for our table view so that we could reference this later on. So table view, we could say here TV and then books. Okay, TV stands for the table view, and then the information that we're going to save, which is books. And another one, or we're going to set also the ID for our columns. So call ID, and then call title, and the author, and of course call year, and call pages. So basically, guys, I'm just showing you how to create the layout, how to basically create your layout using the scene builder application, and so that you will be able to follow what I'm doing here, and you could you could learn something from this particular video. So first, let's save this, and then let's go back to our NetBeans IDE, and we could update the controller by right-clicking the main.fxml file, and then make a controller. So basically, it's going to update and generate all the elements that we have added from our scene builder application. So we have here the text fields, and of course the table columns and the buttons that we have added earlier. Now, the next step is to create the bins, or the class that will, interface us, or like will help us to load information into our table. So we're going to create a new file here in our source packages, and we're just going to name it as books. Okay, books. Click on finish, and then in here we need to add the what do you call this, the attributes that we want to save. So the first one will be the ID, right? So that will be um, ID, private integer, or yeah, integer ID, and then we need also to add for our what do you call this, title. I think it's title, right? And then we also have the author of the book, right? And then of course the year, and of course the pages, or number of pages for our um, books or book. So this will be int, and this will be string, okay? And this will be also string, This will be year, and it's going to be an int. And of course, this one will be int also. So private int pages, and after this, we're going to add or generate the constructor for our books class. So right click and then generate or insert code, and then click on this constructor option. All you have to do is click on the select all button and then generate. So it's going to generate the method, or I mean the constructor books for us. And then of course we're going to generate also the getters for our books class. So it's going to add the getter methods for our ID, title, author, year, and pages. Okay, and then right after this, we're going to go back to our main controller. So instead of using the question mark here, so we're going to use our books class, and then of course in our um, table column also, we will try to, or we will um, specify also the books class. Okay, and then specify also the type that we have used for our ID. So books, and then this will be string. This one will be string also. And then this will be integer. And this will be also integer. And then books. Okay. So in here, guys, we will add the methods that could, handle our create, read, update, delete application. So of course, we're going to create first the connection method because we're trying to connect into our MySQL database, and then we should be able to connect to our database. We could create, read, update, and delete records. So the first thing is we need to set up our connection method. So public connection, and then it's going to be get connection. The name of our method is get connection, and all I have to do now is import the java.sql connection class, and then we could define here the object for our connection, and then add the try and catch block, and then we're going to catch the exception right here. Okay, and then right here we could use the connection object and then set the value by using the driver manager, and then also get connection method, and then in here we will define the connection string. So for that, we're going to use jdbc slash or colon, and then mysql, and then localhost, and then colon 3306, or the port that you are using for your SQL server, and then of course the name of your database. So in my case, I'm using library. So later on, guys, I will show you the structure of this library database. And then right after that, the name of, or the username for our MySQL, and then of course the password. Okay, and then we could return the connection object because the this particular method only returns the connection object, and if something goes wrong with our connection, we could print or display the message. So error, and then we could say the exception variable or object. We could get the message coming from that object, and then we could return null. Okay, so basically we're trying to connect into our library database here, and then if everything is good, then we could return the connection object. But if there's an exception, then we could display the message and then return null. So this is basically how we could handle the connection. And then of course we could use this method to, so for example, get the list of books coming from our database. So what we could do here is add another method. So public void, and then we could, name this method as show books. Okay. And then we need also another method that could return the list of the book or books. So we could define here public observable list. We're going to be using observable list to return the list of books. So the type will be books, and then the name of our method will be get book or get books list. Open and close parentheses, open and close curly braces. We're going to import the observable list, and inside this method, guys, we're going to be using again the observable list, and the name of this list will be book list equals FX collections, and then observable array list. Okay, and after this we could create connection object equals, and then we're going to use the get connection method that we have defined. And after this we could you know um, specify our query, which is select all from books. Okay, guys, this tutorial is intended for beginners, especially in JavaFX. So that's why we're trying to break apart, or break things down, just you could understand the basics of creating JavaFX application. And then after this, we could say here statement st, and then result set rs, and then we're going to use the try and catch statement first. Okay, exception x. Okay, and import the statement class. So make sure it's coming from the java.sql package. And then in here, guys, we're gonna use the statement equals the connection object, and then create statement. And right after that, we're going to query by using that statement. So st, and then execute query. Okay, and then we could say here books equals or books, and while we're going to iterate the result set, while result set has next or next, meaning if the result set has elements, then we could define our books. We could get the ID, so get int, and then we could specify here the ID. So the ID here will be pertains to the column that we have from our database. So ID, um, again, I'm going to show you the structure of our database later on. But for now, just think of the ID, as the column from our database table. So rs.getInt, and then rs.getString. We're going to specify here the title of the book, and then another one getString, and then the author author of the book. Another one, rs that get int for our year. Is it year? Yeah, year. So year, and then rs that get int for our number of pages. Okay. So basically, guys, what we're trying to do here is, iterate the result set and creating a new instance of, or I mean, new book by using the books constructor, and then specifying the ID, the title, the author, the year, the pages. That's what we have in here, the books class. So remember, we have, generated this books constructor specifying the ID, the title, the author, the year, and the pages. So after that, we could add the books or the book into our list. So that will be book list that add, and then the books object. Now, if something goes wrong with our statement inside the try catch or try block, then we could print the stock trace for that error, and then right here we could return the book list. Okay. Now, after that, after defining our get books list, we could now use this method inside our show books method. And basically what we could do here is we could just copy and paste this observable list. Okay. And then it's going to be list equals, and then the method that we have defined, get books list. And now we're going to set the cell value factory for our columns, for our, the columns that we have here in our layout. So as you can probably remember, we have set the ID for our columns for, like, for example, like the ID. So we have chosen call and then ID, and then we could set the cell value factory and new property value right here, new property value factory, and then the diamond symbol, which is the less than and greater than sign, books, and then integer, and then in here we're going to specify the um, attribute coming from our books class, which is the ID. So that's it. And of course, we need to do the same for our other columns. We need to import first the style property value. So another one for our column title. So integer set cell value factory. We could, copy and paste this just to save us time. Call title, and instead of integer, it's going to be string, and this will be title. Okay, this will be the author, right? And of course, this will be year. Okay, and then of course, this is going to be an integer right here, and this will be for our pages, and this will be pages. So remember, guys, that this is the FX ID of our column. So call ID, call title, author, year, pages, and this is the attribute or the variables that we have, defined in our books.java class. Okay, so I think that's all there is to it for this particular video, guys. And in the next video, we're going to continue working on with our CRUD project, and then we will add the driver or the MySQL driver so that we will be able to connect into our um, database or MySQL database. Thank you for watching, guys, and see you in the next video.